we're done. Now, Robert, wow, thank you.
So you like that welcome? You know why? Because did you know I'm from Long Island? This is where
You're from Long Island?
I am, and that's why they gave me such a good welcome.
Well, it's all about you, Jeff.
It is always about me.
I'm just a window dressing.
What?
Thank you. Please don't tell my wife.
So we gave out your cell phone, and we got all those texts back. And
That's great.
Yes, the phone number. But I'm going to ask you some questions that they asked. So one of the first ones they wanted to know is that you are known by being on Shark Tank as being the nice shark. And that Mr. Kevin O'Leary is the mean shark, or like I like to call him when I'm traveling with him, the jackwagon.
Right.
So how do you feel about being known as the nice shark?
So, it's funny, Jeff, that used to really fill my head, and I used to get a really big ego around that, and feel really good about myself. When we first started the show, people come up to me and say, "You're the nice shark." And then inevitably people would say, "Oh, you're the good-looking shark." And I gotta tell you, my head got so big. And then one day I'm watching the show, and I'm watching all the sharks, and I'm like, oh my God, it's really not that big a standard. So, yeah, compared to Kevin, I'm the nice one. So it's not a high bar there.
Not a high bar. Understandable. So now, let me ask you that. So a lot of people here, and myself included, heard many times that the way to make money and to be a good business person, you have to be a jackwagon, you have to be mean in business to sustain yourself. Do you believe that philosophy, or can you be nice? How do you look at that?
Yeah, so, I am a little nicer to people. I don't know if nicer is necessarily, I'm probably more empathetic. And whenever I have the urge to be mean to somebody, and trust me, there are people that come on our show, you're like, seriously? And every time I want to do that, there's a voice in the back of my head, and it's my mom, reminding me that I am no better than any other human being, but no human being is better than me. And so, I think that you have to treat people with a certain amount of respect, and it's okay not to love their idea, but I do think sometimes the other sharks, especially the mean bald guy, Kevin, I think he sometimes takes it too far, because it's a TV show, we're making entertainment, and thank you all for watching. But when you're sitting there, it's someone's dream. Those people worked really hard to get there. And we had 220,000 people apply to our show last year. And so out of 220,000, we bring about 180 to LA. So just getting on the show is an accomplishment. And those people deserve a certain amount of respect, and I can't help myself.
So, not many people know this about you, but you're an immigrant. I mean, you came to this country right? That's right. But your story about coming from Yugoslavia, we want to know, being an immigrant, how did that affect your whole life, and how did that affect you from being successful? Did it help you be successful? So explain a little bit about that.
Anybody here from Croatia? No way! Kako si?
Dobro, jako dobro, hvala, jako dobro govorite.
How impressive is that? So, it's the only other language I speak. I wasn't blessed with speaking Spanish or French or some other language. I used to, when I was younger, I was like, how unlucky in life am I? The only other language I'm really good at is Croatian. How is that ever going to help me? Not many wanted Croatian speaking. And then I was 19 years old, so it just goes to, you got to, in life, take what you have and make the most of it and not regret the things you don't have. And I remember this all the time thinking, this is never going to help me, it's so miserable. So I get a job at a TV station as like an assistant editor, which sounds really fancy. I was just shuffling tapes. That station was the third largest station in Canada at the time. The other two lost the rights for the Winter Olympics. So the third station gets it, and they have to send a crew within 48 hours. The producer opens the letter, says, "Holy crap, we got the Winter Olympics. Where the hell am I going to find somebody who speaks Croatian?" True story. And I'm in the back, and I'm like, "Hi." And she's like, "Do you work here?" And I'm like, "Yeah." She goes, "You're the producer for the Winter Olympics." 48 hours later, I was on a plane with an entire crew of people, and the next day, I was the field producer at the Winter Olympics. I was the youngest producer ever at an Olympic event. It was great. So it goes to show you, everybody in this room is great at something. It may not always be obvious how you translate that to something, but what I've learned is, the world doesn't reward mediocrity, and the world doesn't reward general knowledge. The only place general knowledge makes you a lot of money on is Jeopardy. You want to make a lot of money, you want to be great at something, it's narrow focused. But anyway, to answer your question about immigrants. So I grew up in a country called Croatia now, and at the time it was called Yugoslavia. So it was a communist country, and it was my mom, my dad, and I. I'm an only child, and my dad used to tell me he was a political prisoner. And I thought, my dad is so cool. I had visions of him like Fidel Castro with like a beret and all this other stuff. Then I got older, I went back and I told his buddies, yeah, my dad was a political fighter. And they were like, what are you talking about? Your dad went to a bar, said bad things about communism, they threw him in jail. Because in a communist country, there is no free speech. You get up, you say bad things, they throw you in jail. And my dad didn't have that gene that said, oh, I shouldn't do this. He said, oh, throw me in jail, I'll show you. And he got thrown in jail 22 times. And the last time he got thrown in jail, they said to him, if you come back, you will never come back. And that places where they send you where you just don't exist anymore. So my dad grabbed my mom and we crossed the border to Italy, got on a boat. To make the story even more Hallmark Channel, the name of the boat was Cristoforo Colombo. We landed in Halifax with one suitcase, about $20. My mom remembered she had a friend. We took the train to Toronto and lived in their basement for 18 months. So that's how we started. But I'm not sure if that story is any different than many of you in this room. Some of you here are first generation. Some of you have a great-grandfather or somebody. Everybody here came from somewhere. It's not where you come from, it's what that journey does to you. And so what it did for me is we came here, and I remember thinking on the way here, this is great. Like I lived in a little village, dirt floors, dirt poor. But I didn't know I was poor. I had a grandmother, we had a cow, we had a dog. It was great. On the way here, on a boat, my mom and dad were crying all the time. I'm like, I don't know why you're crying, we're on a boat. This is cool, I've never been on a boat. And then I went to school. So they throw me in school, and I don't know anybody, I don't speak the language, I can't put more than 3 words together. Hi, Robert. And these kids come up to me, and I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm so popular. It's my first day, it's going to be just like back home. Everyone's going to be nice to me, and they come up to me and they start making fun of me. Because I look different, I've got a funny haircut, and I'm wearing flood pants, and they say to me, you're poor. And And I remember going home and thinking, I'm poor. What does that mean? And I didn't associate it with money because I couldn't, but I knew it was different. And I think that really shaped a lot of what happened to us later on and what we were going to do with it. You know, I think bad things happen to you, and that wasn't as bad as some of the other bad things that have happened to me. But the greatest catalyst for change is pain. You're only going to do things in life for two reasons: pain or pleasure. And pleasure is easy. You know, you're having a good day and you're saying, this is good, I want more of this. Pain kicks your guts out. Pain drops you to the ground. And at that point, you've got to make a decision. I'm either willing to accept my situation in life, or I'm just going to change it. You know, people often ask me, how do I change? I can't change. You know, I can't get there. I'm not motivated. I don't know how to do it. I'm like, you know what? When you suffer enough pain in life, you're going to get to make a choice. You're either going to take it, or you're going to do something with it, and that'll make you change.
That was awesome. So many of us in this room have come up with these great ideas, and we want to go on Shark Tank. So they want to know, and I do too, is if I want you to invest in me, what do I have to show you? What do you see when they all come on Shark Tank? What do you invest in a person?
Yeah, so Shark Tank is very real. You know, like I said, we had 200,000 people apply for the show. We took about 180 to LA. The average pitch is over an hour. So no matter how long or short the pitch, it gets edited into 7 minutes. Wow. So a lot of stuff you don't see, but it's very real. We just talk. There's no script. We know nothing about the people. If we've met them before, they can't get on the show. There's a questionnaire you fill out saying, have you ever met the Sharks? If the answer is yes, you can't get on the show. So they come out, the door's open, we've never met them. We don't even know their name. That's why we're like, what's your name? What do you do? Here's an amazing stat though for you. By the time the door's open, they walk out and they say a few words, 50% of the time, we've already made up our mind. And that's why if you watch the show, sometimes people come out, they don't know their numbers, and we're like, you're an idiot. How could you ever get here and you don't know your numbers? Next person comes out, they don't know their number, we're like, that's okay. We'll help you, we have accounting people. You know what the difference is? The people that get our support, before they sold us the product, before they sold us the vision, before they sold us their business, you know what they sold us on? Themselves. And it wasn't like, hey, buy into me. It's all that subtle, non-verbal communication. You know what the very first thing we notice is how you're standing. So when those doors open up and you're like, shuffle, 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 it's you don't have it. And there's all kinds of other little things, you know, how you the tone of your voice and all those other things. But I'll tell you the number one thing, because we have lots of downtime during the show, we talk about this stuff. Number one thing that gets us or turns us off is your energy. It doesn't cost you anything to be happy. I don't want to invest in you if you're miserable. Nobody wants to hang out with you if you're miserable. Are you the one at work that goes to the cafeteria and says, I know it's sunny, but it's going to rain tomorrow. And by the way, my arthritis really hurts. Do you want to hear about my operation? And do you want to hear how the company screwed me out of my bonus too, and why life is horrible? Who wants to deal with somebody like that? Unbridled natural joy is infectious. When you yawn, what do? When you smile, what do? I smile. So you come out and you're smiling, I'm smiling. You come out and you're miserable. I don't want to give you any money, I want to give you Barbara's money.
All right, so another thing that I find, and this was a question, is how do you deal, like people come on the show all the time and sometimes are rejected, how do you deal with failure? And how do you look at failure?
It's so hard because from the moment we're born, and I have twins, and they're 4 months old, and you really shouldn't be clapping for me. I have very little to do. It's my poor wife. But we're conditioned with the words no. A child isn't born with limits. Children believe they can do anything. We tell them, no, don't do this. So I think it's a human condition to try to avoid fear. And most of the time that's really good. But inevitably, you can't grow without failure. If you're good at it right now, it's probably too late. Most of the things that are going to change you in life are uncomfortable. And you're probably going to fall down because you can't achieve great things in comfort. You've just got to be able to extend yourself and fall down. I mean, I have failed 1,000 times. I have been kicked in places I don't want to remember. I have been spat on. I have been made fun of. I have been told you'll never make it. You're not good enough. Blah. You know what all that is for me? It's fuel. No one is going to dictate the limits of what I can achieve.
Staying on a little bit of the same theme is I hear this a lot, especially in my industry, and I've gotten this a lot in my life. Hey, you need to go to Harvard. You need to get a great education. How much does that play into being successful and making money?
Yeah, I think a post-secondary education is great. And, if you're in this room and someone's paying $100,000 a year to go to Harvard, absolutely continue. But if you don't have that opportunity, don't feel bad about it. Here's an amazing stat for you. So there's 6 full-time sharks. Only one of them, and it's the least wealthy one, Kevin, that has an MBA. Only half the sharks actually went to university. So of the 2 that did, Mark and I, Mark's degree, I'm pretty sure, is in drama. And, if you watch the show, he's putting that to good use. And my degree is in classical English literature. Do you know why my degree is in classical English literature? I went to university to study business. I did it for 6 months and said, this is the most boring thing in the world. I don't know why anybody would want to be in business, so I drop out. I go home, I'm sitting on the couch one day, my dad comes home. He just worked a second shift in a factory. Comes home and says, buy you home. I'm like, I dropped out of school, I'm going to go in the world, I'm going to make my own way. I'm going to get a job, I'm going to become a millionaire. And my dad's listening, and he wasn't a feely, fluffy, kind of hug you kind of guy. So he comes up to me, like right here, and he says, love you. You go back to school, or I kill you, bury body in backyard. I was the first person in my father's entire generation and my mother's entire generation that ever got a post-secondary education. And so, I had to go back. But I went back and I'm like, what can I study? And a friend of mine never seemed to go to any classes. And I says, what are you studying? She goes, I'm studying English literature. I'm like, but you know English. She's like, yeah, it's great. They give you a book on a Monday, you read it, you show up on Friday, and you talk about it. I'm like, sign me up. It's not education you need. You need knowledge. There's a big, big difference between education and knowledge. Education is external. Education is something somebody gives you. Knowledge is something that you take, internalize, and do something with.
So now, a lot of people ask this question is like, hey, you sound great, but you got money. I have nothing. how do I start a business when I have no money?
Yeah, this is the best time in history to start a business. Most people don't think it is because you hear all these big money things being thrown around. Oh, this company raised 20 million and 2 million, and we think it's easy, and it's not. There's two big fallacies around starting a business. One is, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Right? And it's, in order to make money, what do you need? Money. Well, so when I started out, my mom was a receptionist, my dad swept floors in a factory. I didn't really know a lot of fancy people, and we had no money. So basically, I'm at the starting line, and I'm already finished. So I said, I gotta find a field. I gotta be honest with myself, first of all. You know, the biggest lies you tell in life are the ones you tell yourself. You've gotta be brutally honest with you. So if I say to you, if you have no money, embrace that. Don't wish for something you're not. Be honest with yourself. Like, in my mind, as I'm sitting here, I think I look like Brad Pitt. In my mind. But you know, when I look in the mirror every morning, I see Robin Williams staring back at me. Now that I told you that, you're all like, oh my God, he really does look like Robin Williams. Alright? Thank you. So you've got to find a field. You know, if you have no money, you can't start a car dealership. Because you know what you need to start a car dealership? You need money. If you have no money, you can't start building commercial buildings. But if you have no money, you have desire, you have knowledge, you have to gain expertise in something and start in a field that doesn't require capital. So what doesn't require capital? Some of the stuff you're learning today. You've got to get into a field that values knowledge more than capital. And that's the biggest fallacy. See, people have unreasonable expectations. They're like, oh, you know, I have friends who are like, I want to open up a chain of hair salons. I'm like, wow, that's great. How much money you got? I have no money. So you're not doing it. That's it. You're not doing it. Well, I'm going to raise it. I'm going to get it from family. I'm going to get it from friends. Don't borrow money for your first business. Start it on your own. Why would you put that pressure on yourself?
That's a good point. I like that a lot. The other question is that someone asked, if you had to invest in one thing right now, what would that be?
Easy. Yourself. I would invest in me.
Wow.
Yeah. Always. And you will, the greatest return you'll ever get is the money you invest in yourself. And you've just, I'm going to drop a big name, and I don't mean to, but years ago I had the pleasure of meeting Oprah, and I asked her for a couple of tips on, you know, advice, and she said something to me, leaders are readers. You've got to constantly be improving, and you've got to be constantly growing. I wasn't born with a trust fund. I wasn't born with a lot of money in the bank. I wasn't born into privilege. That's okay. It just means you got to work harder. You know, the beauty of it is you can do whatever you want in life. And the great equalizer is time. Everybody in this room got the same of something as the person you're sitting next to, and it's 24 hours. And here's the reality. The further you down the totem pole of privilege and access you are, the harder you gotta work. So I had to work way harder than my friends just to get back to even keel. Was it fair? Absolutely not. I had to sleep, you know, when I started out, I used to sleep 3 hours a day. And I sleep 4 or 5 hours a day. And it never ceases to amaze me. People say to me, I wish I could do that. And I think, really? Is it like a special gene? Like they say, oh, I couldn't do what you do because I'd be tired all the time. And I'm like, I'm tired! I'm tired all the time! But I have to get somewhere. I don't have time to be tired. And so you just got to work harder, and you've got to get more out of the time in order to get ahead.
So I've never asked you this, so I might throw you off a little bit. what do you feel, and I hear this a lot from people, and it bothers me at times, people say, hey, you got lucky. How do you feel about luck in business and investing?
Yeah, I've been really lucky. I really have. I am an incredibly lucky human being. But I only remember the things that worked. You know, the other 999 things that most people would say, that was bad. I don't remember. It was yesterday. My future is not being written by my past. The book of my future will be written starting today. Not tomorrow, today. Someday isn't a real day. You know, and so I have a very short memory for pain, and I have a very short tolerance for feeling sorry for myself. You know, Barbara and I had this talk one time. She said, what do you think the biggest difference between successful people and others is? And she had a great saying. She said, it's how long they allow themselves to feel sorry for themselves. And so, yeah, I've been really lucky, but I can only remember the lucky times. I can't remember the 1,000 other times I failed, because I don't care. And you know what else? Nobody else does. Nobody cares about your pain.
So, all right, let's switch gears a little bit, because someone asked, which show did you like more? Dancing with the Stars or Shark Tank? Right? I don't know if anybody knows, Mr. Herjavec was on Dancing with the Stars and did extremely well for a guy with no rhythm.
Anybody ever watch Dancing with the Stars? That's right. So, much better show than Shark Tank, which is sad.
Why?
Well, first of all, I get to hang out with way more fun people. Right. And I am definitely not the good-looking one on that show. Let's just say that.
Tell what happened.
Or the nice one. But, you know, I ended up meeting Kim, who was my dance partner, one of the top dancers in the world. Thank you. And we ended up getting married. Now we have twins. It's incredible, right? And when I was asked to do the show, I was going through a really, really tough time, and they asked me, and I never danced. So first time I met Kim, right? I'd never met her before. She comes in, she goes, hi, I'm Kim. I've won the show 3 times. I'm so excited. And by the way, when I first met her, they opened the door, they filmed this big thing. I run in the door, and the camera's and it's live, and she goes, oh my God, it's you! And I hear, God, let's do that again. And I see the producers are whispering to her in the corner, and I go outside, and I come in, the door's open, and I walk in, and they go, and she goes, oh my God, it's you, Robert! So that's how we met, and she says to me, so, show me some dance moves. And I go, I don't dance. And she's like, okay. You're at home, you're by yourself, the music comes on, nobody around, how would you move? I'm like, I don't understand this question. I don't know where you're going with this. Here's how good Kim is. We went from that to 3 weeks later, I am the best cha-cha dancer in the world. I thought I was going to win the show. But you know, Jeff, to your point is, I was very, very uncomfortable about doing the show. I'd never done live.
Tell them the story about the fear when you were about to go on live TV.
Yeah, so, you know, Shark Tank is real, but we film for as long as we want to talk. There's no script. You go on Dancing with the Stars, you rehearse for 3 weeks, the dancers are incredible, they make you feel like Kim's been dancing since she was 2. In 3 weeks, I'm like, I'm as good as she is. I hope she can keep up. And then the day before the first show, they bring you to the studio. They've never shown it to you before. There's 1,000 people live. And the producer says, by the way, this is a live show. I'm like, yeah, I do TV all the time. What that means is the camera's on you for 1 minute 40 seconds. So if you fall down, the camera's on you for 1 minute 40 seconds. And you're like, holy crap, it's a live show. Scariest thing I've ever done. But just kind of got over the fear, remembered the purpose of why I did the show. And I didn't tell you this before, Jeff, but so funny story, true story. When I first auditioned for Shark Tank, they put you on tape and they ask you standard questions, right? Blah, 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 blah. So one of the questions to ask all the sharks is, why do you want to be famous? Absolute truth. Without even thinking about it, I say, so I can get on Dancing with the Stars with it. I'm going back 11 years. And the reason was, not to get sappy with you, so imagine for me, I want to get ahead, I want to be successful in business. Now imagine my mom, this little Eastern European woman who never really learned English. She thought she knew English, but it was something resembling English. Her dream, dancing with the stars. You know, the beautiful women, the costumes, the music. Like if you called my house on a Monday, my mom would be like, why you calling? Show on. And so many years later, my mom ended up getting very ill. She got ovarian cancer and she went into the hospital. And every Monday, we'd go to the hospital with the other ladies and we'd watch Dancing with the Stars. And I'd hang out and I'd watch it with them. And I wasn't even on TV. And my mom says to me, one day, you think you'll be on the show. I wasn't even on TV. And of course, what are you going to say to your mom in that situation? She said, absolutely, Mom. One day I'm going to be so famous, they'll ask me to do the show, and I'll do it for you. And so fast forward many years later, they asked me to do the show. Jeff, I didn't even think about it. Now, unfortunately, I also didn't read the contract. Dancing with the Stars is 12 episodes. Shark Tank, we filmed Shark Tank the entire season in 11 days. That's it. So I'm on TV 3 hours a day. You'll go home tonight, you'll see me on TV. 3 hours every day. I film 11 days. I wanted to do the show for my mom. I signed the contract. I figured it's 12 episodes. How much filming can it possibly be? I was on the show 75 days in a row, 10 to 11 hours a day. Now, mind you, maybe it was a little to do with hanging out with Kim, but because I don't have that desire to hang out with Barbara. No, I'll tell you that. Or Kevin.
All right, so now listen, this is going to be the last question because it's getting late. Everybody's got to go home. So you talk about passion and people having passion in a business and a desire, and you do the story really well. So I'm going to just get you there. You have this story about a Cadillac. And it's, if you want to listen, this drove me to tears one day. So just